The cruel aspects of the English Civil Wars, unveiling a nation in turmoil. The English Civil Wars, spanning from 1642 to 1651, were marked by internal strife, political upheaval, and profound social divisions. This tumultuous period, pitting royalists against parliamentarians, revealed the dark underbelly of conflict, showcasing the brutality and cruelty that can emerge when a nation is torn apart by ideological differences and power struggles, political and religious divisions. At the heart of the English Civil Wars were deep-seated political and religious divisions. The conflict stemmed from disputes over the power of the monarchy, the role of parliament, and the imposition of religious uniformity. These ideological chasms fueled animosity, laying the groundwork for a brutal and protracted conflict. Siege warfare and famine. One of the cruel aspects of the wars was the prevalence of siege warfare, where towns and cities became battlegrounds. Besieged populations faced not only the horrors of armed conflict, but also the grim specter of famine. Civilians endured starvation as resources dwindled, adding a layer of suffering to the already dire conditions. Battle of Naseby 1645. The Battle of Naseby, a pivotal engagement, showcased the brutality of the conflict. Thousands perished in the field, and the aftermath saw wounded soldiers left to suffer without proper care. The aftermath of battles, marked by maimed and wounded soldiers, painted a grim picture of the human cost of war. Suffering of civilians. Civilians bore the brunt of the cruelty, facing displacement, pillaging, and violence. The sack of cities and towns by opposing forces led to widespread atrocities against non-combatants. The concept of total war emerged as both sides sought to undermine the economic and social foundations of their adversaries. Mass executions and reprisals. The aftermath of battles often saw mass executions of prisoners of war and political opponents. Particularly notorious was the execution of royalists after the Battle of Naseby. This harsh treatment fueled a cycle of reprisals as each side sought to avenge perceived wrongs. The Siege of Drogheda 1649, in Ireland, under the command of Oliver Cromwell. The cruelty reached its peak during the Siege of Drogheda. After the city's capture, Cromwell's forces massacred thousands, including civilians, in a brutal display of retribution and terror to crush Irish resistance, social turmoil, and economic disruption. The wars brought about social upheaval, disrupting traditional structures and leading to economic hardships. The breakdown of social order created an environment where cruelty and lawlessness thrived, adding to the suffering of the populace. Legacy of divisions. Even after the wars concluded, the scars of cruelty endured. The beheading of King Charles I in 1649 symbolized the unprecedented act of regicide, underscoring the irreversible changes the conflict had wrought upon the political and social landscape of England. Royalist and parliamentarian propaganda. Both sides engaged in propaganda, using pamphlets, broadsides, and other media to vilify the enemy. This manipulation of public opinion further fueled animosity and dehumanized the opposing forces, contributing to a climate where cruelty could flourish. Witch hunts and superstition. The turbulence of the era was accompanied by a surge in witch hunts and accusations of sorcery. The fear of supernatural influences added an element of irrational cruelty, as innocent individuals were accused and subjected to brutal trials and executions. Impact on cultural heritage. The destruction of cultural heritage was a tragic consequence of the wars. Many historic buildings, manuscripts, and artworks were lost or irreparably damaged during sieges and conflicts, resulting in a significant loss of England's cultural legacy. The execution of Charles I. The unprecedented act of regicide, culminating in the execution of King Charles I, marked a turning point in monarchical history. The cruelty of executing a reigning monarch underscored the radical shifts occurring in England's political landscape. Economic exploitation and plunder. The wars provided opportunities for economic exploitation and plunder, with both sides seizing assets and resources from their adversaries. This economic motivation added a ruthless dimension to the conflict, as armies sought not only victory, but also material gain. The trial of King Charles. The trial of King Charles I was a contentious event, where the legal proceedings themselves became a source of controversy. The spectacle of trying a reigning monarch in a court of law showcased the extraordinary nature of The times and the divisive nature of the conflict. Conclusion. Lingering shadows of cruelty. The English Civil Wars left an indelible mark on the psyche of the nation. The cruelty witnessed during this tumultuous period, whether in battles, sieges, or political trials, cast long shadows that would shape the course of England's history and collective memory. The scars of this era served as a stark reminder of the fragility of societal structures and the potential for brutality when deeply held convictions clash. In examining the cruel aspects of the English Civil Wars, we gain insights not only into the specific historical events, but also into the broader human capacity for cruelty during times of profound social and political upheaval.